Hello, students. Welcome to chapter 13, Community Food Supply and Health. And we're going to talk about the health of a community largely depends on the safety of its available food and water supply, the American system of government control agencies and regulations. And we must be familiarized with these agencies and regulations so we can educate our patients. Along with local and state public health officials, work diligently to maintain a safe food supply. So the first topic we are going to introduce is the food safety and health promotion. Okay, so in addition to the agencies, there are federal, state, and local agencies participating in education and research to promote the safety of the food supply. The first one is going to be the FDA, right? The Food and Drug Administration. So they are responsible for the majority of the food supply, and this is good to know. Okay, all these questions, there is a part in NCLEX that is going to include questions about regulations and policies. Okay, and you need to be familiarized with them. Okay, so the enforcement of federal food safety regulations, the Congress charged the FDA with ensuring that the U.S. food supply is safe. Okay, so they have to enforce food sanitation and quality control, governing food additive. Okay, we are going to talk about the food additives, regulating the movement of foods across state lines, supervising the nutrition labeling of foods. That's something that you need to start to be familiarized with, the labels of the foods, ensuring the safety of public food service. And the agency methods of enforcement are recall, seizure, injunction, and prosecution. Recently in the market, you heard about the listeria issue, right? With the boards products. Okay, so all the boards products, the turkey ham, the hams, the sausages, they were recalled because they were infected with the bacterial listeria. Okay, so the use of recall is the most common method, followed by seizures of contaminated blood, injunction involve a court order to stop the sale and production of a food item, right? We saw the recall already. This procedure is not common, and it generally occurs in response to a claim that a food item is potentially harmful or that it has not undergone appropriate testing or acquired adequate approval for sale. So when we talk about injunction, sometimes this could be understood by some products or medications that are coming from other countries, right? So they need to stop the production. For example, they are coming seeds from other countries and they are planning to make them grow here. So they need to stop the production because those seeds are not authorized um, for the production here in this country. Consumer Education and Research, the FDI Center for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition maintains an electronic reading room with informative materials intended for educators, health professionals, and the public. I strongly recommend you that you download. There is an application called Medscape. Okay, Medscape is free. You just need to register, right? Create a nickname, a username, and a password, and they are going to send you for free information that is going to be relevant, not only related to the FDA, but also medications or new treatments. Okay, so you as a nurse need to be updated on everything. Okay, they are going to send you daily information. Okay, and you can see in the Medscape diagnosis, treatments, medications for certain medication is free. Okay, I'm going to show you that in the class. So pamphlets, publications, and other materials are available to download, distribute, or print from their website. We're still talking about the FDA. Food safety, you see the website over there. It's an organization that serves as the liaison between the public and all government agencies that are involved in food safety. Food labels, early development of label regulations. During the mid-60s, the FDA established truth and packaging regulations that dealt mainly with food standards of identity. And this is something that I am very happy to see. The more they are more transparent, each product is more transparent with the public, the better the public can take care of their health, right? As food processing advanced and the number of available food items grew, the labels included nutrition information as well. Okay, so agencies involved in food safety regulation, you have the FDA. That's good to know. It's good to remember this. Primary government body of the American food supply, with the exception of commercial meat, poultry, and egg products. Again, with the exception of commercial meat, poultry, and egg products. Okay, that's the FDA. Also governs dietary supplements, bottle of water, food additive, and breast milk substitute infant formulas. Now you have the Food Safety and Inspection Service of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They are responsible for the food safety of both domestic and imported meat, poultry, and processed egg products. Okay, that's the difference. You have the Environmental Protection Agency, regulates the use of pesticides and other chemicals and ensures the safety of public drinking water. It's not going to be, this is not away from the NCLEX exam. You can have a questions. For example, they are going to tell you what is the mechanism of action of the Federal Trade Commission, and they are going to put you in the question, for example, the definitions regulate the use of pesticides, and they are going to give you options. Is it the FDA? Is that the USDA? Is the CDC, right? Or maybe they are going to tell you what agency monitors and investigates cases of foodborne illnesses, right? And they are going to put you FDA, USDA, the environment, the CDC, and you need to select the correct one. Or maybe they are going to tell you, please drag and drop. Okay, so on the right side you're going to have definitions of different agencies, and on the left side you're going to have the FDA. So you put letter A corresponds to this definition, and I am very, very motivated to do that because I want to prepare you for the NCLEX too. So be prepared with the definitions. This is mandatory to learn, especially if you're going to educate your patients. Okay, I'm just giving you the heads up. Whatever you may see, maybe in exam 1, in the final. Okay, food standards, labels on foods that do not have an established reference standard must list all of the ingredients in order to relative amount found in the product. Other food standards information on labels relates to food quality, fill of container, and enrichment of fortification. The FDA defines the following foods as major allergens like milk, egg, fish, crustaceans, shellfish, true nuts, peanuts, wheat, and soybeans. And that's good to know. We need to be familiarized with the allergens that the FDA defines. Okay, nutrition information. The FDA developed a labeling system that describes a food nutritive value after the adoption of regulation in 1973. So the information about nutrients and food constituents that consumer groups believe should be listed on labels including the amount of macronutrients, and we know already macronutrients refers to the carbs, protein, fats. That's what we learn in chapter 12, and their total energy value. The key micronutrients, for example, the vitamins and minerals, calcium, iron, vitamin A, and the levels of sodium, cholesterol, trans fat, and saturated fat. Concerned public and professional groups also want nutrients identified in terms of percentage of the current dietary reference intake standards per defined portion. And I think that's fair. So if you are on a diet of 12,000 calories, right, you need to know what nutrients, what percentage corresponds, okay, to that 1,200 calories. Just an example. One third to one half of shoppers consult the food label. One third to one half. And that's not enough. We need all our patients to be reading the labels. We need to educate the patients. Remember that we have a lot of comorbidities, hypertension, obesity, we have cancer, and most of them are a consequence of the malnutrition, meaning malnutrition, the wrong type of food we are ingesting is not the poor food. We also relate malnutrition to the poor amount of protein, for example, of carbohydrates. No, it has to be the right combination, okay? So individuals already making healthy food choices, for example, low intake of sugar, sweetened beverage, high intake of fruits and vegetables are the ones most likely to read and make food purchasing decisions based on level information. Well, sometimes diabetic patients are not aware that they are eating corn syrup, which is elevating the glucose level to the roof, right? So sometimes they don't read the labels. Women with advanced education and higher income are the most likely demographic to use the food label to aid in purchasing ticket. So you fit in that category. You're gonna have advanced education and higher income. Okay, so you master this label education. Background of present label regulation. So two factors have fueled rapid progress. One is an increase in the variety of food products entering the US marketplace, and two, changing patterns of American eating habits. Both factors led many health conscious consumers and professionals alike I like to refer the nutrition labeling to help attain health goals. There are certain stores, I don't know if you have gone, for example, to Patel Brothers, is a store that sells Indian products. And I've noticed that most of the products, or maybe half of the products, are not having the label regulations, okay? So here comes specifically that example, okay? Also in different supermarkets where they are selling Latin American products, okay? Because in other countries they don't have these regulations. Current food label format, so there is graphic here, but represents the current FDA approved nutrition fact levels, okay? There are significant changes from previous versions. You are going to see the serving size, a large font size to draw attention to the calories per serving, and this is excellent, including added sugars also, and vitamin D and potassium will replace vitamin A and C as required nutrient on the label. And that's another thing we need to remember, right? On chapter 12 we learned that vitamin D, for example, is very important for calcium absorption. So right now, if we are going to see vitamin D and potassium, which works together for better vitamin D absorption, right? They are replacing vitamin A and C. Okay, current research indicates that vitamin A and C are no longer of public health concern as nutrient deficiency, whereas vitamin D and potassium intake are generally inadequate. The daily reference values also are going to be seen there. And this is good to know. When I say maximum NCLEX alert, it is because I have seen this type of questions, okay, in most of the resources that I use to create questions. Manufacturers may voluntarily include additional information such as amount of polyunsaturated fat, monounsaturated fat, soluble and insoluble fiber, sugar, alcohol, like for example, sorbitol, and consuming sorbitol or other sugar alcohols in large amounts can cause bloating and diarrhea. Sometimes we think, oh, I'm eating healthy, I'm eating this type of food, but I don't know why I'm bloating. So you need to check on the labels if the product is having sorbitol. Also, you're going to find carbohydrates, other vitamins and minerals, and caffeine. The FDA established 2,000 calories as the reference amount for calculating the percent daily value. So this 2,000 calories is just like a regular umbrella for everybody, from which each person is going to establish the amount of calories needed in order either to lose weight, to increase weight, to maintain certain way. Athletes, they need certain amount of calories to keep their energy level. Remember, calories is related to the energy needs. Okay, so you have here the label. You can see the servings per container, serving size, the calories. Here, the saturated fat information, the cholesterol, the sodium, the total carbs. This is huge. 37 grams is a lot of. The alcohol, added sugar, the vitamin D, calcium, iron also is very important, and potassium. Okay, let's move forward. So this is for further focus. Glossary of terms for nutrition fact labels. So nutrition facts box. You are having daily values. Please pay attention to this part, it's very important. So daily values are reference values that relate the nutrition information to a total daily diet of 2,000 calories, as I mentioned before, which is appropriate for most women and teenage girls, as well as for some sedentary men. The footnote indicates the daily values of for a 2,500 calorie diet, which meets the needs for most men. So notice the difference. For women and girls, 2,000. For men is 2,500. But sedentary are also included in the 2,000. Why? Because they don't need that much energy if they are sedentary. Do you understand the difference? The 2,500 for men meets the needs for most of them, teenage boys and active women. Okay, so for example, if a woman is doing certain exercises, instead of 2,000, probably she's going to need 2,500 or maybe more, right? Daily reference values. So we spoke about the daily values before. Now is the daily reference value. They are a set of dietary standards for the following nutrients: total fat, saturated fat, cholesterol, sodium, carbs, dietary fiber, added sugar, vitamin D, calcium, potassium. Okay. No dietary values is provided for trans fat, total sugar, or protein. There is no recommendation or need to include sugar or trans fat in the diet, and protein is not a public health concern because most individuals consume enough protein daily. So I kind of disagree with this. Some people, because of the income nowadays, they cannot buy enough proteins, and they think that eating certain amount of boiled eggs is adequate. We need certain amount of protein depending on the calorie needs, okay, and the energy needs. So I would say we need to keep an eye on this also. Describe terms and products. We're going to speak about assessment of the nutritional habits of the patients in the following chapter. So keep an eye on the habits, the culture. Maybe there are some patients that are vegetarian. Okay, so we need to consider all those facts. Descriptive terms on products. You're going to see the label fat-free, which is less than 0.5 grams of fat per serving. Okay, low cholesterol is less than 0 milligrams of cholesterol per serving and per 100 grams, okay? And you can go ahead and read the entire definition. Light or light, at least 1/3 reduction in kilocalories. Reduce less sodium, at least 25% reduction in sodium. High is 20% or more of the daily value per serving. Reduce saturated fat. Lean applied to meat, poultry, and seafood. And extra lean applied to meat, poultry, and seafood. Less than 5 grams of fat, 2 grams of saturated fat, and 95 milligrams of cholesterol per serving. So for more information, you can search the nutritional and fact labels and nutritional label and education act requires on that website that is mentioned, the FDA. So health claims. The FDA guidelines indicate that substantial scientific evidence must support any health claim on label. The following are examples of approved claims. Very interesting. If you notice something, you have to say something in order to changes to be done. So for example, in terms of cancer, the label mention low dietary fat intake and a reduced risk of cancer. So that means that before they were not mentioning, and right now they are mentioning, right? Low dietary fat intake is related to the reduced risk of cancer. Recently, I think probably like 8 years ago, the American Cancer Association made a statement about the red meat, the meat and the processed red meats that are related to cancer because they are processed. They have increased levels of nitrates, and also because they are not organic, so they are related to cancer. Also, high fruit and vegetable intake and a lower risk of cancer. Yes, so you eat low dietary fat and you eat high fruit and vegetables, and there is a low risk of cancer. Those are labels that are being included. Diet high in fiber containing grain products, fruits and vegetables, and a reduced risk of cancer. In other words, if you wanted to prevent cancer, you have to eat low diet in terms of fat, and you have to increase the fruit and vegetables and the fiber containing grain products. And I know what I'm talking about. I developed my capstone based on cancer survivors and how they can avoid recurrence. And so far, after 5 years, none of them had a recurrence, thanks to God. Heart disease and hypertension, another example. So low dietary cholesterol and saturated fat intake and a reduced risk for coronary heart disease. Let me choose another one. A diet low in sodium and the prevention of hypertension. So these are claims that the public made, people, the consumers, and they were accepted, right? You need to mention this on the label. There are other related to neural tube defects. The use of non-cardiogenic carbohydrate sweeteners may reduce the risk for dental caries, okay? So this is an interesting one. A diet containing adequate calcium and vitamin D and the prevention of osteoporosis, right? So this is very important. We are kind of rushing on the same concept about calcium and vitamin D, so, and the prevention of osteoporosis. So I cannot repeat this enough. That's good to know. Okay, good to know. So front of package labeling. Many food manufacturers use front of package labeling to broadcast nutrition information. And the front of package labels would be symbolic instead of text heavy and visually easy to interpret. So here we have series of symbols. My understanding is that these are symbols used in the United Kingdom. You can see here this is like a traffic light, right? When you see green for saturated fat, you see green for low sodium, red for in terms of high sugars, right? And you have another type here on the right. Also, this is very interesting, the Nutri-Score. So C represents a product that is having a normal amount of nutrients. You have here the another 5-color nutrition level, which A would be the most nutritional foods, and B is kind of with less nutrition, right? And also here there's another one for the level of content of cholesterol and triglycerides, for example, in Europe, right? You see the fat, the saturates in red, sugars, okay? So remember that all the sugars at some point, and I know probably you studied this on your A&P, sugars are converted to fat at certain point. Health claims. So may appear on the front, side, or back of food packages. A diet that is low in saturated fat and cholesterol and a reduced risk for coronary artery disease. We spoke about this. It would be interesting if you can identify a label with these specifications, okay, for your own practice, so you start familiarizing, right? Food technology, let's go to another topic, okay? So we finished already the umbrella that is related to, this is just for food labels, okay? So now we're gonna go to food technology, okay? In terms of food technology, the agricultural and food processing industries have developed various methods and compounds to increase and preserve the food supply. However, critics voice concerns about how this change have affected food safety and the overall environment. So such concerns frequently focus on pesticide use and food additive, okay? When we talk about food technology, remember we are talking about pesticides and food additive. So we have the agricultural pesticides. We have reason for use for food productions to feed or growing population. For example, farmers use certain substances to control a wide variety of destructive insects that produce crop yield. Perfect. The controversy is that one, pesticide residues on food, 2, the gradual leaching of the chemicals into groundwater and surrounding wells, 3, the increased exposure of farm workers to these chemicals, which is something that I'm very concerned about, and 4, the increased amount of chemicals necessary as insects develop a tolerance. And that's important, right? Insects develop tolerance as the bacteria and viruses, right? So alternative agriculture, they are turning away from heavy pesticides and use alternative agricultural methods, right? So now we have the organic farming, and this is good to know. You need to know the definition of organic foods, okay? So organic plant foods growth without synthetic pesticides, fertilizers, sewage sludge, genetically modified organisms, or ionizing radiation. Organic meat, poultry, and eggs and dairy products are from animals raised without antibiotics or growth hormones, okay? In 22, the USDA enacted a set of national recognized standards to identify certified organic foods. For food to carry the USDA organic seal, the farm and processing plant where the food was grown and packaged must have undergone government inspection and met the USDA organic standards. So I want to highlight this because it's very important. to carry the seal of USDA. The package must have undergone government inspection. Okay, that's good to know. You need to remember again the definition of organic. So this is the USDA organic. Okay, it's not enough that the label states organic beans. You have to see the label. Okay, so organic food standards, the national program, which is constituent of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, which we already reviewed at the beginning of the chapter, in terms of what they are supposed to do and control, ensures the standards for organic food. Okay, although the USDA deems many methods prohibited by the organic standards, irradiation, genetic modification, okay, these methods of farming are banned in certified organic foods because of public concern. So you have the organic foods have 4 labeling categories with specific guidelines for each as follows. And make sure you remember this type of categories. So 100% organic is a product that is produced exclusively with certified organic ingredients. Then you have organic, just organic, must contain at least 95 organic ingredients and must have passed a government inspection. The third category is made with organic. Products made with at least 70% certified organic ingredients. So when we go and do our shopping, sometimes some customers, they just feel safe because they saw the word organic. Okay, you have to read the label, make sure it's 100% or organic or made with organic, depends on your needs. Number 4 is a specific organic ingredients. Foods made with less than 70% certified organic ingredients may not use the USDA organic seal or make any organic claims on the front package. And that's good to know. So when you don't see the seal, okay, and the product states, for example, organic beans, but you don't see the seal, means that they use less than 70% certified organic ingredients. Okay, organic foods are less likely to contain pesticide residues and may be better for environment and animals, right? So this is another second review of the term organic. Organic farmers can still use natural pesticides and fertilizers, therefore they are not producing pesticide-free food. Hello? Organic farmers can still use natural pesticides and fertilizers, okay? Therefore they are not producing pesticide-free foods. Even though they are natural, they are still using natural pesticides and fertilizers. Other common points of confusion are with the use of following items: natural, hormone-free, and free-range. These terms are not synonymous with organic. Okay, these terms, which is natural, hormone-free, and free-range, are not synonyms of organic. The FDA, the Food Safety and Inspection Services, the USDA, sorry, does not approve use of the terms hormone-free or antibiotic-free. Instead, manufacturers may use the phrases raised without other hormones or raised without other antibiotics. Okay, I've seen some chicken in some supermarkets that they are labeling hormone-free or antibiotic-free. And to be honest, I've seen this in some supermarkets in the Chinese town, okay? So they are not familiarized, but I wonder if the USDA is going around and checking this. They should be using raised without added hormones or raised without added antibiotics. That is the correct term, okay? I'm gonna put this in yellow. They were asking me what's the difference of the yellow, green. So basically it's just to differentiate one concept to another. So there's no really... Okay, one important note about the use of hormones is that beef and lamb are the only animal products that may use hormones. Therefore, including any such claim on a poultry product also requires the following statement on the food label. Federal regulations prohibit the use of the use of hormones in poultry. So I want to tell you something. Therefore, including any such claim on a poultry, no, let me go. One important note about the use of hormones is that the beef and lambs are the only animal product that may use hormones. And that's something that I would like to discuss. You know, in some countries like Argentina or Netherlands, the cows are eating grass. That's the usual foods the cows are supposed to eat. Here in US, due to amount population, the big population we have, the cows are eating corn that are already genetically modified. Okay, I'm coming from Peru. The corn is huge. It's almost the size of the nail thumb. Okay, so that is natural. Here in US, we need to feed different animals with corn genetically modified already. So think about it. A cow that is supposed to eat only grass right now is eating modified corn in order to grow faster. So the poor cows are gonna get sick. So they are going to be getting also antibiotics and hormones in order to diminish the side effect of the corn they are eating, right? So at the end, we are eating meat that is genetically modified with the corn and is having hormones and antibiotics because the cows are getting sick due to that type of food. So it's very important. In my practice, I always recommend do not eat red meat or processed foods, but you also have to make the patients aware of what they are eating. I prefer to stay away from red meat, okay? Now think that you are on top of that eating barbecue. So you put that genetically modified red meat with antibiotics and hormones to be cooked with charcoal. So what are you eating, right? So think about that. If you're a meat lover, get your meat that with the label that says grass-free, fed with grass-fed, grass-fed, okay? And that would be much better. At least you have a certification that you are eating the right food. Biotechnology, okay. Free range, we need to speak about this because it's important, refers to a method of farming where animals have the opportunity to roam free outdoors rather than being confined in an enclosure all the time. Think about cage-free when buying eggs, for example. But that doesn't mean that because they are free range, that they are, or cage-free, that doesn't mean that they are eating organic. They can be, walking around free in the farm, but probably the grass or other plants are full with pesticides and fertilizers. Okay, so double check when you buy eggs, make sure it's cage free, free of hormones and antibiotics, and probably USDA organic. That would be the most recommendable. Biotechnology is a broad term that has application in human nutrition, medications, agriculture, and environmental sciences. Biotechnology is the use of the biologic process or organisms to make and modify products. Two commonly used medications produced through means of biotechnology are insulin and penicillin. Okay. Two examples of biotechnology in agriculture are the development of corn and expresses a specific protein that serves as an insecticide, and the synthesis of rice and increased levels of beta-carotene. Although, and this is the important part, although various genetic manipulations have improved crop yields for thousands of years, Most U.S. consumers are unaware of the extent to which these foods have entered the marketplace. In the United States, hello, 94% of soybean crop acreage and 92% of corn crops are genetically modified. Thus, most people in the US have consumed some form of GM food, also referred as genetically engineered, because corn and soy are omnipresent in grocery stores products. So we are already eating, believe it or not, if you want or not, modified food through the corn and the soy. Make sure you read your label when you see corn in some form, even corn syrup, corn starch. You are already getting GMO. Okay. Did you know that? So here you have the adoption of genetically engineered crops in the United States, right? Which blue refers to the corn. Look, from 1996, right now in 2018, in which the book was edited. Look, the amount, the percentage is almost more than 90%. And the red color refers to the cotton, and the other color, the green, refers to the soybean. So look how much of genetically modified food we are eating nowadays versus 1996. And we correlate that with all the chronic conditions, right? Comorbidities. We can correlate that with obesity. We can correlate that with cancer, with asthma. Okay. Plant physiologists have developed strains of plants that reduce the need for toxic pesticide and herbicide application to protect against virus infections and insects. Development of other GM products includes qualities such as drought resistance, which are plants with relative low water requirement and well adapted to an arid climate, are often described as drought tolerant or drought resistance. I don't know how good it is to eat something that does not require good amount of water. So qualities such as drought resistant, enhanced protein, oil, vitamin content, and viral fungal resistance. At this time, there are 10 GM plants approved for commercial production in the United States, which are soybean, corn, canola, cotton, alfalfa, sugar beets, squash, papaya, apple, and potato. So all these GM, genetically modified products, have been approved for commercial production. I'm gonna repeat it again. Soybean and corn, we said it in the previous paragraph, but canola, cotton, alfalfa, which is a type of green leaf product, sugar beets, squash, GM, squash is genetically modified, papaya, apple, and potato. Wow. The National Institute of Health, the Animal Plant Health Inspection Services of the USDA, and the Environmental Protection Agency are all involved in the application of GM foods in commercial use, which are the most heavily related foods available. Can you believe? You can stay away, probably you don't pay attention when you buy your products in terms of corn and soy, but at least you can select and you can make a decision whether you're going to buy papaya, apple, or potatoes, right? This agency monitors the consumption, safety, and environmental effects of GM crops. So we have to pay attention to this piece of information when selecting food for the family. Don't you think it's time to grow your own fruits and vegetables? I will give a second thought, right? Even if you live in an apartment, right? There are some techniques that you can use to grow your own fruits and vegetables. Irradiation. Food irradiation is the use of ionizing radiation to kill bacteria and parasites that are on food after harvest. Radiation helps to prevent foodborne illnesses caused by Escherichia, Salmonella, Campylobacter, Listeria, Shigella, Salmonella. Okay, the World Health Organization, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the USDA, and the FDA approved these three methods of irradiation. Approval for irradiation of wheat flour and white potatoes, for example, is not new. Reducing the eliminating disease-causing germs, irradiation can increase the shelf life of products. Foods that are irradiated have an altered nutritive value. They are not radioactive. They have no harmful substances introduced because of radiation, and they are not noticeable different in taste, texture, and appearance. A variety of food has been approved for irradiation in the US, including meat, poultry, seeds, some seafood, fruits, vegetables, herbs, and spices. A variety of foods have been approved for irradiation in the United States. You need to know that you are eating food that has been through the process of irradiation, like meat, poultry, seeds, some foods, fruits, vegetables. Okay. The FDA requires that all labels on irradiated foods display either the Herradura symbol for irradiation. So what is the Herradura? The Herradura symbol is this one. Okay, so when you see this, that means that the food was irradiated. Be familiarized, open your eyes. Okay, so it's very important. Food additive, intentionally added chemicals that prevent spoilage and extend shelf life. The two most common additives are sugar and salt. Sugar, which causes diabetes, is everywhere, and salt, that causes hypertension, is everywhere. So with this knowledge that I cannot review in 1 hour of class, okay, and I'm still halfway in this chapter, okay, and this week is supposed to be 2 chapters. This is the most important thing. We need to realize, we need to read the labels, we need to be aware of what we are eating. The phrase generally recognized as safe denotes additive in foods that do not require FDA approval. Wow, can you imagine? So food additives serve many other purposes. For example, produce uniform quantities, standardize many functional factors, preserve foods, control acidity or alkalinity, which is a concept that we need to start getting familiarized, because this is going to prevent a lot of conditions, especially cancer. Okay, the type of acidity, the level of alkalinity. Okay, there is alkaline diets, acidity diets. Most of the acidity diets causes a lot of inflammation and chronic conditions, so you need to start being familiarized with that. Food additives enrich foods with added nutrients. That is good to know. Food additives enrich food with added nutrients. That's good to know. Enrich food with added nutrients. Okay, so example of food additive, you have the preservatives. For example, you're going to see ascorbic acid is a food additive under the umbrella of preservative. Tocopherol, which is your vitamin E. Sweeteners, you are going to see corn syrup, aspartame, and we know that aspartame is related to cancer, right? You have to stay away. You are going to see color additives as well, and the list is big. Flavors and spices, natural flavor, artificial flavors and spices. I don't know if you're comfortable buying food that has an artificial flavor and spices. Then you had fat replacers and components of formulation, and I want you to pay attention to carrageenan. Carrageenan is carcinogenic. Products with carrageenan can be labeled as natural, but limited studies show that carrageenan may promote of cause inflammation, blood, irritable bowel syndrome, glucose intolerance, colon cancer, and food allergies. So I invite you to go to the supermarket and try to buy milk in can without carrageenan. Canned milk without carrageenan. You will be surprised. I only know one brand And it's not a brand, it's basically supermarket brand from Key Food, Urban Meadow. And you're going to see when it's fat-free, Urban Meadow with it fat-free does not contain carrageenan. It's only the milk and vitamin D. Everything else has carrageenan on it. Okay? And not only in the milk. Go and figure out. Nutrients, thiamine hydrochloride, riboflavin, you see, niacin, folic acid, all riboflavin and niacin are your B vitamins, B carotene, potassium, iron, tocopherols, vitamin D, ascorbic acid, vitamin D, okay? And then you have the emulsifiers, soy lecithin, again, soy we know is a GM. And also you have stabilizers, thickeners, binders, and texturizers like worm gum and carrageenan. What is worm gum, Dr. Matalana? High amounts can cause problems like intestinal obstruction, bloating, gas, and death, especially if you have a patient with intestinal obstruction. And I've seen a lot of elderly patients that are coming to my practice in the gastrointestinal clinic, and they are reporting a constipation for 7-8 days, and there is no laxative that can help them because they don't have anybody to guide them through the shopping list, right? Humectants, you see sorbitol, we spoke about sorbitol and alcohol, yeast nutrients, dough strengtheners and conditioners, and you see the list goes on and on. So we're going to make a stop here. When we come back, part 2, we are going to speak about foodborne disease. Thank you.